Good evening. It is the eve of the American election, and I thought I'd do a video to say a few things that I wanted to say to everyone. Please don't believe the BBC, ITV, ABC, CNN, and all the rest of this mainstream media. They are there to brainwash you. They are there to turn people who are the poor people of the world, including the poor white people in America, and the poor people in the Middle East, and the poor people in Europe, Africa, and everywhere else, against each other. Their job is not to bring peace between people. Their job is one thing and one thing only: to try and divide and conquer. That is the reality of what the mainstream media does. So you need to understand who the enemy is of your country. The enemy of your country is not a bunch of brown people in the Middle East. It's not a bunch of white people in Essex. The actual enemy is the one that is causing all the hatred to exist on all of these main platforms, on all the news outlets, on the TV channels, on Netflix. They make you hate people through their programming. This is programming that's been brought in by behavioral science teams. For instance, the Labour Together team, which is the think tank behind the Labour Party's election win, which is made up of people who are less interested in you, but more interested in the people who have supported them, which is the billionaire class of people. Those are the ones who are funding that organisation. They're the ones who've given them 10 or 12 million pounds. Go and do what you got to do. These are the important points. Make sure you get everyone fighting each other. Do you know why? Because, as Jeremy Corbyn said, and we have a battle of the many with the few. They are the few. These billionaire classes, billionaire people, and the people who are behind them, they are the few, we are the many. The last time we actually had a proper election where there was a real choice outside of what the establishment and what the billionaire classes made us have an election for was in 2017. That was a proper election. But every 5 years we get these elections that come up and we think we have a choice. We don't have a choice. We're basically getting exactly the same thing, but just wearing a different tie. America, you don't have a democracy. You have a duopoly of power, but only one person is in charge of that country. And that is the lobbyists of Israel. They own all of your government. They have filled all the positions of power. You think you're having an election? You're not having an election. You're just having a branding. Every 4 years or 8 years, you have a branding exercise where you've changed it from Democrat to Republican, but the actual change never ever happens because the masters of the universe, and that's what they call themselves, the masters of the universe, and Noam Chomsky is the person who calls them the masters of the universe, have decided what you're allowed to vote for. It's a very narrow place where you're allowed to vote for A or B. You're not allowed to look at C. Don't look at Dr. Jill Stein because she's outside of A and B. Why? Because she's advocating for peace. She's advocating that we stop the slaughter in Gaza. But that is not what A or B will want to give you. And the point is this. When I say you don't have a choice, everyone is now saying if you vote for Kamala Harris, you're going to have millions of people coming into America and you'll never get the country back. That's the Kamala Harris side of things. That's the Donald Trump side of things. Kamala Harris is thinking, you don't want Donald Trump. He's a racist. He's going to start wars. Just absolute lies. The guy didn't start any wars. He didn't do anything of the sort. If anything, he was the most peaceful president there ever was. But he is definitely not a friend of any Muslims. And he is also in the pocket of Israel. So therefore, whoever you choose in America, you're picking a Zionist. And that is the point. You don't have a democracy. Just like we don't have a democracy here, because we go to elections and they rig elections. They've rigged the elections over here as well. We've got a police case right now for Rochdale. George Galloway was robbed. We're waiting for the police to come through and do their investigation, and I'll apologise afterwards if I'm wrong about what happened in Rochdale to whoever wants to hear it. But right now, we're sitting here disenfranchised. Why? Because George Galloway was a voice that would have every single Wednesday made the life of our Prime Minister an absolute misery at Prime Minister's Question Time. Because our party, the Workers' Party, got 210,000 people who voted for it. That's a lot of people in this country that voted for us. And we were denied our seat at the table by shenanigans. And I'm waiting to see what the results of the police inquiry is. As I said, if I'm wrong, I'll apologise. But at the moment, I'm not apologising. At the moment, I'm actually waiting for the police, the Greater Manchester Police, to hopefully pull their finger out and do what they're supposed to do, which is follow up on the case and finish up what's got to be done. Because a delay in democracy is a deficit in democracy. And at the moment, it's November. I don't know how long it takes to actually look at some videos, listen and read some statements and start doing some investigations. But we're waiting and we'll see what they have to say. So this is not just about the Workers' Party. This whole thing is about the deficit that exists for us as poor people around the world and how much power we do not have. Because all of the power sits there in the hands of the richest, biggest mega corporations who decide what happens. And who are they? They are BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. All of these companies own each other. And they are the ones who are deciding what's right and what's wrong. They decide what the specific things that you're allowed to do as a government. Not until Keir Starmer decided to do exactly what billionaires wanted was he fully accepted as the next person to become the Prime Minister of this country. That is not a democracy. That's a corporatocracy. Corporations are deciding what's right for our country. That is the problem that we have at the moment. We have a whole bunch of poor people fighting each other, and they're fighting each other. Why? Because a bunch of rich bastards are sitting there telling them, he's taking this off you. He's coming to this country to take your place. He's coming to take your job. Why are they coming to our country? They've ruined our culture. They've done this. They've done that. And all they do is cause wars between people in civil society. They're not there to help. They're not there to make people get on. They don't have a message of love. They don't have a message of peace. They don't have a message of justice. They have a message of violence, war. And we're made to sit here and watch what's happening in Gaza, what's happening in Palestine. And if we open our mouth up and call it a genocide, we're anti-Semites. We are called anti-Semites for wanting to no longer see the heads of children blown off a torso and the father's carrying this kid minus a head. I can't keep tweeting all these videos to people because I feel sick watching it. But it doesn't stop. It's not stopping people. And the reason it isn't is because these people are led by a bunch of warmongers. All of these people who are in charge of Britain, Germany, France, and America, they all are servants of these mega corporations who are making profit, who are making hay from war, from the chaos that comes out of war. These opportunities to murder each other and people like that, that's what they thrive on because it allows them to keep doing what they want to do. So there is no balance. There's no equilibrium. There's just violence and chaos, and that is what they thrive on. That is how they make their money. That's how they divide humanity. The reality is there is fuck all difference between someone in America who's a poor white person and a brown person somewhere in the Middle East. You know what? You're all starving. You're all trying to find ways to make money. You just want to get on. You just want to put a roof over your head. You want to look after your kids. You just want to be able to provide for them. There is no difference between people in South America, Russia, or anywhere else. The only difference is the geography. And what they're doing is making sure that life is miserable for everyone. What they're trying to do is make sure that poor people stay poor and you end up punching each other sideways instead of punching up. Instead of looking to your leaders and saying, what the fuck have you done for me lately? You're fighting each other. And they've got you at each other's throats. They do it through TV. They do it through Netflix. They do it through the news. Oh, you know, like TV programs like Tehran, for instance, 24, for instance, where they turn around and make, what do they call it? Torture an acceptable form of work, an acceptable form of business. It's an acceptable way of doing things. Why? Because they want to do it to people. 24 came out at the same time as the American CIA and whatever else doing all of this torture things to everyone around the world. They numb the world with their behavior. They get them ready. Why do you think a film called Civil War came out last year? A film called Civil War with the American president being in the East and the Western Alliance in California and Texas fighting each other. Are they preparing something for America? Are they preparing a level of violence so people are getting ready for this kind of thing? What is it that the masters of the universe are trying to do to everyone? Just watch out what you're doing, what you're saying. Don't fall for the traps. And it's hard. It's hard for people because, unfortunately, everyone is brainwashed. If you sit there and watch CNN, BBC, ITV, and nothing but that shit, you're a brainwashed person. You're literally a fucking sheep. So, break the bonds of this mainstream media. Go and do your own investigations. Look at as many sources as you can for the news. Try and get your sources of information directly from direct people on the ground there. If you want to know what's going on in Gaza, get on Twitter and see the films and videos that are coming out of that place. Find someone that you trust and follow that person. Follow that person because he is going to give you the news directly from there. Believe that. Don't believe CNN. And you have to go and look for the news because these corporations don't bring you the news when it doesn't suit their agenda. When it doesn't suit their agenda, they bury it. They hide it. They make sure it never sees the light of day. So it really is your responsibility, and it's incumbent on you to keep yourself informed. And the only way you can stay informed is if you turn off that TV, turn off the BBC, turn off the ITV, turn off the CNN, and listen to people directly involved in a conflict. Don't listen to the propaganda because that's all they are. Channel 4 News is a propaganda arm of the British government. Do not trust these people anymore. They have lost their integrity. They have sold their souls to the devil. That's all they are. They've sold their souls to the devil. I'm doing a long video because I just want people to understand how I'm feeling. How I'm feeling as I watch this election coming about. I really want people to wake up. I don't want you to keep sleepwalking through life and thinking everything is rosy, because it fucking isn't. Don't believe everything that you see on the TV as something is okay and everything is fine. There are people dying everywhere, and there's people making profit from every bullet that's sold to kill someone in the Ukraine. They are making money from there. They did it in Afghanistan for 20 years. They did it in Iraq for 10 years. That's all it is. It's a money-making machine for people. So I hope to God that this is a message that you'll listen to. I'm sure not all of you have listened all the way through. And if you have, good for you. But you need to keep yourself informed, and you need to, like, you know, switch down the volume on the mainstream media, because they're not our friends. You saw what they did to Jeremy Corbyn. He was the last chance of us being actually to have an election where we had a political leader whose message was love, peace and justice. Whose message was, we are the many, they are the few. Let's do things that's for the people. And what did he do? He tried his best, but the machinery that they have in place is so powerful that they were able to manipulate members of parliament who are supposed to stand for as elected representatives of the people of their own constituency. They got them to resign on cue 2 times, one every 10 to 15 minutes, to show that he is not a good leader. No, he is a good leader. You are irresponsible pieces of shit. You are not the elected representative of those people. You are literally the servants of Israel. 2/3 of the cabinet of the Labour Party are Labour friends of Israel. 2/3. Yeah? Well over half of the Labour Party members are friends of Israel. Why? Why have we got to have so much Israeli influence over our parliament? Why is that the case? Why can we not have them involved? They sit there and talk about Israeli, Russian influence on our elections in America and everywhere else. What they don't talk about is the actual grip with which Israel controls multiple countries, multiple Western governments through their lobbying system. But you're not allowed to mention them. Oh my God, no, okay. That doesn't count. That doesn't count at all, does it? No, of course not. No. Anyway, it's nearly 20 minutes. I think I'm going to end it there. And there is still hope. And the hope is that people will wake up and people will start doing their own research and investigations and find different places to get your news from. And do not listen to the mainstream media. They are not our friends. They are actually the enemies of the people, but they are the best servants of the few. And they are called the masters of the universe, the establishment, the matrix. They've got all sorts of names for themselves. But really, at the end of the day, they're people whose interests are only for themselves. They do not give a flying fuck about me, you, or any other poor person. That is their agenda.